The reason you picked that school is because they already graduated some reputable and some respectable alumni that already made it through the school. Well, who are the alumni, Reginald? So glad you asked. Moses said, I'm an alumni. Moses graduated with a degree in Red Sea crossing. Come here, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They said, we're alumni. We graduated with a degree in fire furnace survival. Come here, Daniel. Daniel said, I'm a survivor. I graduated with lion den degree. I made it through that. And is there anybody here glad that there are already some good alumni who already made it through? Whenever you get discouraged, just think about some Mary McLeod the third. Think about some Malcolm X. Think about some Rosa Parks. Think about some Thurgood Marshall. Think about some Coretta Scott King. And if you don't have any hope, just look back. I told you, don't you know there already been enough alumni that have already made through it? Matter of fact, if they're not good enough for you, look at your grandmama. When I look at my grandmother and how she survived breast cancer, she's an alumni. My daddy had diabetes, and one day his sugar dropped while he was driving a truck and hit the car in front of him. But my daddy is an alumni. My granddaddy had prostate cancer, but they found it just in the nick of time. He's an alumni. Every now and then you look around and say, God, I thank you for some alumni. As a matter of fact, have you ever graduated in some situations? Have you ever got promoted when you went through a class? You want to thank God for getting you through that thing, but you know He can take you to the next thing. Somebody said they got some good alumni. And that's all I want to tell you. Names of Paul has already told us that you won't go through the University of Adversity. Well, what better person to talk to about this than Paul? Paul, he who was born in the tribe of Benjamin. Paul, he who knew Hebrew and over 10 or 13 different languages. Paul, he used to persecute Christians. Paul used to lead revivals to kill Christians. As a matter of fact, when they killed the first deacon of the church, Paul was the one that held the coats for the men that stoned the first deacon. Be very careful about people who love to hold coats. Paul is holding the coat of the people who killed the first deacon. But one day Paul said, I was riding my horse on a road called Damascus. God blinded me. I fell off my horse on a road called Damascus. He changed my name from Saul to Paul. He changed my name from sinner to saint. He changed my name from a pimp to a preacher. He changed my name from a drug dealer to a deacon. And I'm so glad that God knows how to change names. And be very careful about calling people certain names. Well, she fast, he loose, he's a dum-dum, he's a nut, she's a failure. But God said they're peculiar people. God said they're a royal nation. I'm so glad God is in control of what my name is going to be. God said I'm the head. I preach to myself, y'all. God said I'm the head and not the tail. I'm above and not beneath. I'm the lender and not the borrower. Anybody here know God can change your name? He changed Paul's name. And Paul said, Reggie, I got to tell you something. The trouble didn't start when I was out the church. The trouble started when I walked in the church. I said, Paul, why was that? He said, Reginald, well, before I got in the church and met Jesus Christ, I was on Satan's team. And when you're on somebody's team, it's really rude to fight your own teammate. But when you cross teams and get on the Lord's side, that's when the battle starts. Can anybody testify you really didn't learn how to pray until you got saved? Folk really didn't get on your nerves until you start coming to church. People really didn't get trifling until you decided, for God I live and for God I die. But in the good news, when you on God's side, if God be for you, who can be against you? No said, well, Paul, you got to give me some hope for the people there. The young people looking at me tonight needing a word. Paul, how did you get through the University of Adversity? Paul told me back at my room, are y'all ready? Or how to make it through? Are y'all ready? He said, number one, when you want to make it through the University of Adversity, number one, you have to be real. Somebody say, be real. What do you mean, be real? It's right there in the text. Verse 8 says, we think you ought to know, dear brothers and sisters, about the trouble we went through in the province of Asia. Stop right there. Paul is writing a letter to the church in Corinthians, his second letter, and he said, church, I don't want y'all to think while I was away, everything was a tiptoe through the tulips. I don't want you to think I was sipping on Oreo blizzards and fruitistas from the Taco Bell over in Asia. He said, no, it was not sweet. No, it was not dandy. I had some straight up issues. And you know the worst mistake that the church has ever made, Sister Thames, is we celebrate Halloween all year long. Y'all are getting on your way home. I said we celebrate Halloween all year long. Have you ever asked somebody how they doing? I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm too anointed to be disappointed. I'm too equipped to be with the devil is a liar. Sometimes I don't know how I'm going to make it. Sometimes I don't feel like going to church. Sometimes I am disappointed. Sometimes I do have tears in my eyes. And when I come to church, I ought to be able to be real. Some of the fakest people I've ever met were in the church. It wasn't at the club, it wasn't at school, it was at church. In the room and say, hey, pray for me. Hey, I got some mess at my house. I like Paul, he didn't get specific. He just said, I want you to know everything ain't been good. I don't want to listen to a preacher that can't be real. So many people are struggling and going through stuff. When was the last time you heard a sermon talking about pornography? When was the last time you heard a preacher say from the pulpit something about a condom or birth control? The real deal is this community is in a mess, and if we don't do something to change it, a whole lot of folks go in the hell. And if they want to be really real, some people are living through hell right now. Paul said, just look, be real about where you are. He said, but second, I want you to understand this, it's going to get rough. The first thing is what? But the second thing is what? It's going to get rough. What do you mean it's going to get rough? Look at the text. Verse 8 says, we think y'all know, dear brothers and sisters, about the trouble we went through in the province of Asia. We were crushed and overwhelmed beyond our ability to endure, and we thought we would never live through it. How bad did it get, Paul? Verse 9. In fact, we expected to die. The King James Version said we had a death sentence on our life. Have you ever been there? When you're trying to walk through the Asia of your life, but it seemed like everything was falling on you at the same time. Overwhelmed, overtaken, overruled. So much on you. You're trying to carry it, but it's heavy. You're trying to hide the fact that you might be pregnant, but it's heavy. You're trying to keep coming to church, but the deacons keep hitting on you. It's heavy.